What's up, everyone? Hey, today is Sunday, May something or other. I'm not even sure of the date, I should say, but it's May something. And it's a Sunday, and it's probably 80 degrees and sunny. And there's no way I could pass up an opportunity to get out here and ride. I was just watching the Reds game, and it's kind of boring. It's a pitching duel, so there's no hits. Top of the sixth, 0-0. Not a really exciting game to watch, so unless you're a pitcher guy and you like watching pitchers. But Hunter Green is a up-and-coming prospect here for the Cincinnati Reds, and he's actually having a very quality start. He's going to be something special, so we'll see how that goes. If you're a Reds fan or a baseball fan, maybe not, but I thought I'd get out as the pitching duel was going on and get a little bit of riding in. The video that I wanted to present today was about why I should not buy a Honda ADV 150. And I know you're probably wondering, why wouldn't I buy one? You talk it up quite a bit and you're really pleased about it, and I agree, I am. But I also get a lot of questions over the years. How fast does it go on the highway? Would this be suitable for highway commuting? And I want to just go over this video because I have to be brutally honest with people, even though it's an amazing bike. These bumps, my goodness. And a very quality motorbike. I do have to also make sure that everyone understands, if you do want to buy something like this, you got to know its limitations. And that's what we're going to talk about today. So why would I not buy the ADV 150? Well, like I said, I think one of the biggest topics and one of the biggest things that I get asked is, would you ride this bike or would you recommend this bike for the highway commuting? A lot of it scientifically comes down to, is it capable of doing it? Yes, this thing will get up to, like I've shown in plenty of videos, about 67 miles an hour. I would say 65 wide open, and it slowly gets up there when you get above like 50. Like I'm going, 40 miles an hour right now, and I have plenty of throttle, but it's not going to get there quick. If I want to squeeze the throttle or twist the throttle and get up to 65 miles an hour, it's going to take a minute or two. Not 2 minutes, but probably a good minute. It's not something that I would feel comfortable with riding on a highway on a regular basis. Now, with that said, if I had to ride this on the highway to get somewhere just once in a great while, I could do it, and I would feel pretty okay doing that. It's not anything that I would want to do on a consistent basis, that's for sure. Because let me explain something. When you're on this thing and you're going 50, 55, 60 miles an hour, you don't have any more room to throttle and get out of the way. You don't have any emergency throttle, that I call it. So we've all been on the highway, probably in our vehicles, cars or trucks, where we've had to gun it, and we had to really floor the gas pedal to get out of the way. Sometimes we can't slow down and cause somebody behind us to slam on their brakes, so the only other choice we have sometimes is to floor it. And that's kind of getting out of the way of merging oncoming traffic or whatever else might be happening. Well, with this thing, you don't have a lot of room to do that. And that doesn't make me feel really comfortable when I'm on a highway and there's 2-ton vehicles and semi-trucks and everything that are going 65, 70, 75, 80 miles an hour on a major interstate. That just is not a comforting feeling when I don't have the power to really accelerate like I would want to if I had to get out of harm's way, if that makes sense. So yes, is this bike suitable for the highway? Yeah, it can technically do it. Like I said many times, it can technically do it, but I wouldn't trust it on an average day-to-day commuting basis. And if you do, that is simply your choice, and it's something that you have to consciously make aware of, that what the limitations are of this bike. Now, if it were me and I was going to buy a motorbike for highway commuting on a regular basis, I would probably get something a little bigger, more cc, maybe a 300 cc engine. The Suzuki has some nice scooters that are very reliable, 300 cc engines. So I would probably buy something with a little more power if I was going to ride the highways on a regular basis. If you can buy a used Bergman on the used market, you're not going to be spending probably anywhere near the price of this for a new one. I could be wrong, but this one out the door, the price of this motorbike, this Honda ADV 150, out the door was $5,000. And they let me do that with tax, title, and everything, because I said I'd buy it, but I want $5,000 out the door, and they actually let me do that. And there wasn't a lot of margin in this. It was a good deal, I think, because that was what they were going for anywhere in the country. So if you gotta consider, if you're spending $5,000, that is if you buy this thing new, what can you find on the used market that's gently used, maybe got an oil change or two on it, maybe somebody's had it only a couple thousand miles, and you can save thousands of dollars. This may not be the best choice for everybody, especially if you plan on riding on the highways and doing a lot of commuting where you're above 55 miles an hour, 60 miles an hour. Another thing to consider is this motorbike, soaking wet, is still under 300 pounds. So that is not a heavy bike. And when it's windy out, especially if you're riding on roads or the highway where there's overpasses and you get that side wind that just whips back and forth, I'm telling you, I have been what feels like blown, like boom, just several feet. And it's kind of like a very surreal feeling, because it's not a pleasant feeling, because it literally just pushes you a couple feet one direction to another. And I've had that happen plenty of times. So weight is a big factor in bikes, especially for commuting on high-speed interstate. This is that trail that goes along the Great Miami River. The Great Miami Riverway, they call it. Great Miami River Recreational Trail. As you can see, you can walk to downtown Hamilton. You can walk to Fairfield Waterworks Park. So we talked about the price, we talked about the highway commuting. I don't want to beat that dead horse, but that's really going to be an ultimate personal decision for you. If you buy a 150cc motorbike and plan on riding it on the highway on a regular basis, I wouldn't personally do that. But again, I just don't feel the need to do that, and I don't have the need to do that, because even if I did drive to work, I would say 95%, or I could do back roads 100% to my work without a problem. Now, the route I go now in my personal car, I do get on the highway just for like a short period of time, maybe like 5 minutes. But I could ride this bike to work with no problem whatsoever on completely all back roads that are probably, I think, 40 miles an hour or under. So I would not have a problem whatsoever. And I'm going to do that this summer. I could have done it this past Friday, but I didn't. So I will be riding this to work. And I'll bring you along with me, and we'll have a nice chat and ride this to my company. And it'll be pretty interesting, because I've never done that yet. Why else would you not buy the ADV 150? Well, I don't have too many reasons why you wouldn't, except for highway commuting. It is a little pricey, especially if you buy it brand new. Like I mentioned, $5,000 out the door. You can get a lot of nice motorbikes for under $5,000. So again, what's your application? What do you plan to do with it? I paid the price because, for one, I absolutely love the looks of this thing. Anybody that's ever seen it makes comments in a positive way. They don't even think it's a scooter. It looks like just kind of more of an aggressive motorcycle. I get many of waves from other bikers. They don't know what it is from the front. Not that I'm embarrassed that it's a scooter whatsoever, but I'm just saying, I bought this motorbike because I enjoyed how it looked, and I enjoyed everything that I researched about it. And I researched this thing many months before I decided on it, because after I saw it in the showroom, I'm like, wow, this is nice. And I knew right away what it was because I was interested in the PCX, the Honda PCX 150. Couldn't find one. I've shared the story many times. I couldn't find one anywhere in my local area. Nobody was willing to ship it. I didn't want to pay the extra money to ship one across the country. And then my dealer had this, and when I went up and saw it, that was it. I knew right away what I wanted. No doubt about it. And it's the same thing as a PCX. It's just got a different suspension in the back. It's got a little bit more aggressive, like, visual appeal, and a little bit more aggressive tires for off-road capabilities. So in a sense, at least when I bought this back in 2021 or 2020, I bought this in 2020, I think, but this is a 2021 model, and I don't know what's changed about the 2022 PCX versus this now. It might be different, but anyway, my point is, I was more than happy to shell out $5 grand for this and did not even hesitate. Another factor why I was not concerned about spending $5,000 on this, the Honda brand reputation. Honda makes one of the most reliable, longest lasting vehicles, motorbikes, engines, anything they ever design and make, it's gonna be a solid product. I don't care if it's a lawnmower, I don't care if it's a motorbike, I don't care if it's a car, truck, whatever. Honda knows what they're doing. And that was another factor. That was another reason I didn't have any qualms about spending the money on this, because I knew I was gonna get reliability, longevity, value. Resale value would have been crazy good if I did ever decide to buy this thing. I could sell this thing tomorrow and only lose a very small percentage of my original purchase. So yes, with those things in mind, the resale value of a Honda, you're always going to be good there. It's going to last forever if you take care of it and you do your regular maintenance. Oil changes on this thing are a snap. So I didn't have any problem buying a Honda product, and I was very okay with spending and paying a premium for the Honda brand. There's no question in my mind that I did a good thing. This is pretty cool. This is neat. Check this out. Yeah! See, the nice thing, you can do this stuff like this on a scooter and nobody really cares. Nobody's around. Just cruise around and check out different things, and man, this is the greatest part of a scooter like this. You know, it's just things on a scooter or a small motorbike that are very quick and nimble like this. I'm telling you, you can't even begin to imagine how fun that is, because you can't do those type of things in a car. If I drive my car around, I would not do anything like this. I'm not going to drive my car around in little off the beaten paths and parking lots and stuff, because it's just not as much fun. But when you're out in the open air like this, you can do that. You don't have to be, there's no reason that you have to be hundreds and hundreds of thousands of miles away from home to achieve the same level of joy right in your own backyard. People think, well, how come you never ride anywhere? How come you only stay close to home. Well, what's the difference if I stay within 10 miles of my home and get out there a ride, or take a long road trip? I really, honestly, and this leads me into my next kind of argument, I don't really enjoy riding this thing more than an hour or two. I guess it would be something I could get used to, but the seat on this thing, the stock seat, in my opinion anyway, is okay. But if I ever, like on a regular basis, if I ever rode this bike more for commuting, like on a daily basis, first thing I would do, as far as any major expense, I would upgrade this seat without a doubt. I don't have any question about that any longer, because when I did the group ride, when you saw my other video on the group ride where there was like 17 other motorcyclists, and I did the group ride with this thing, it held up fine. It kept up with the other bikes, but the only problem that I really remember was I wasn't very comfortable on it after a while. You know, after about an hour, hour and a half, I was ready to get off this thing because I felt myself squirming around in the seat. So keep that in mind. If you're gonna buy this bike, again, say it all the time, what's your application? Are you gonna ride it long term? Are you gonna ride it every day? Is it gonna be your main commuting vehicle? You may want to consider something a little more comfortable. Not that this is bad, don't get me wrong. Some people perfectly are fine with this and they don't have any qualms about it whatsoever. Yet, what I have noticed is the comfort factor being on it more than an hour. But that's just me. Again, we're all different. So the seat that I would buy, if I ever decide to upgrade this seat, would be a Corbin seat. And I have a link below the videos. All my videos have links below them. But the Corbin seat is definitely one that I would probably buy before any others. And yes, it's pricey. You're probably going to drop about $500 on a Corbin seat. But I think again, you get what you pay for, right? Look at the reviews, and I'm not sponsored by Corbin, or I don't own any of their products, but just from what I read, a lot of social media, Facebook groups, people that have this bike, nobody has anything negative to say about the Corbin seats. But yeah, do I want to put out $500 right now? No, because it's not necessary. Because I'm not riding this thing all over creation, and I'm not using it as a daily commuter. I'm just saying, if I did ride it more often, and if I did plan on taking longer trips, which I do plan on doing that one day, just not the right timing right now. I can't do it yet with the way life is right now. With that said though, I do plan to ride this and take longer trips on it one day, and I look forward to those days, but I just can't do it yet. So I don't need to upgrade my seat. So that's another thing to keep in mind if you do decide to buy this bike. And I would have to say maybe another con about this bike is the frontal wind. Now this windshield, this windscreen, this is an upgrade, and I had a video on that you could check out. But the windscreen does make a little bit of difference, only at lower speeds though. I would say under 40 miles an hour I could really probably justify buying it. But at the time when I bought that windscreen, it was only $39.95. And yes, they've raised the windscreen quite a bit. It's almost double now. Maybe thanks to me, I don't know. But no, it's almost double now. But I still think it's worth purchasing if you want to do a little bit more wind blockage from the front, especially if you're not going to be riding on highways and stuff. It does seem to help. Adjustable, by the way. I might be able to tell it more of a difference, but so just keep that in mind as well. The only con is possible frontal wind, but it would probably look funny if I had a windscreen that was like as high as my helmet, like from the police show Chips, where they have the really high windscreens. I'll see some coyote back here. I came up here one time and there was like 3 coyote just casually walking right down the drive there. So they hang out in that marshland and stuff. There's a lot of woods and a lot of wetland area back in there that kind of runs through this whole area. And I think one of the coolest things about this bike is the underseat storage. The thing I like about this thing is this storage, because what I've done, I have put my rain gear in here. So you can see this under I got my pants and my jacket, and this is all waterproof Frog Tog stuff that I did a video on. My wallet. But yeah, the underseat storage is, I love it. I mean, I never had a motorbike that didn't have that had this underseat storage, so it's really cool. This is nice. You can hop off of it, get under your seat, get out whatever you need, and be on your way. Got a couple planes taxiing right now. I don't know why this one's in the grass though. That's interesting. See what this is all about. Is that grass? Oh, maybe it is a runway. It looked like it was going in the grass from back there. Yeah, beautiful day to fly if you're into that sort of thing. I don't know if I would really call this a con, but another thing that you might want to consider about this bike is availability, or the lack of it. It's hard to find this bike right now. I've heard stories on social media and stuff where people, they're on a waiting list. So again, if you want something for this summer, if you want something in a hurry, you may not be able to find this right away. We'll throw some pros in here now. We don't have to necessarily put everything in order. So I would say a pro about this is, mentioned it many times, the maneuverability, the just light and nimble. You press on that bar, boom, you're there. I mean, it's so quick and nimble. It's very light, which the lightweight could be, like I said, either a pro or a con, depending on what your use is for it. Now, I like it. I love the lightweight. I love the quick and nimble, and that's what I bought it for. What drives me up a wall, and one of my biggest pet peeves, and I don't know why people do this, but they buy this bike and then they ask, well, how fast does it go? I haven't really broken it in yet. I've only had it out a few times. How fast does this thing really go? And then I hear, like, a couple weeks later, they're like griping up and down because it only gets to like 65 miles an hour. I don't know what they thought, but you're buying a 150cc engine. You can't expect it to go 90 miles an hour. But there are people out there that do that. They're more of an impulse buyer mindset, and they don't do a lot of research. And then they're stuck with the bike that, oh wow, this thing only goes 65. Oh, I can't deal with that. I got to sell it. Well, you're losing hundreds of dollars, possibly thousands of dollars. Not thousands, but if you bought this brand new and tried to sell it a week later, you're going to lose some money. Nobody's going to give you full price, because I don't care if you got 2 miles on it, it's not new anymore. Again, if you're planning on buying this thing, know that 65, unless you do some upgrades, is probably all you're going to get. And you're going to spend another $500 easy, maybe $1,000, reaching speeds to up to 80 miles an hour, because you got to change rollers, you got to do all kinds of things. You might have to, I would say probably realistically $700 might get you 80 miles an hour, maybe not. Also, that depends on your weight. I don't think I'd be able to get 80 miles an hour because I'm about 215, so that's a lot of weight for this thing to haul. And again, I'm not concerned about going 80 miles an hour. I would not want to go 80 miles an hour on this thing. Just would not want to do it. If I get like 44 right now, 44, I'm going 45, that is plenty. Because then I'm starting to feel that wind, that frontal wind, and it's not really pleasurable to ride in frontal wind like for long periods of time. So that's why I stick to the back roads. This is a major road here. This not this road I'm on, but the one crossing, that's a bypass highway, so that you can get speeds up to without getting ticketed, probably 65 miles an hour before they'll ticket you. So there's cars that fly on that road, and you can hear them all night long, because we live close to the bypass in our home, and you'll hear them racing on this road. You'll hear the crotch rocket motorbikes and the Mustangs and all kind of vehicles just flat out dragging down this road at later at night. So I'm going to get on this road. Like I said, this is a 50 mile per hour zone, this bypass. So I'm going to do the loop here, turn around, and I'm going to go up the bypass, and we're going to max this thing out, and we're going to see what speed I can get it up to. So as you saw, I got it up to about 65 a couple times, and one time I didn't even tuck in. I was trying to, get down and tuck under the wind and bring my legs in, but that second time I got a little drafting effect going on, so I got it to 65 just behind some vehicles. So it'll do it. Like I said, it'll hit 65. It takes a little bit to climb that to that speed, but it'll do it. The wind though, you know, going that fast, it's just not pleasurable. I don't like that much wind on me. But yeah, this thing will keep up with traffic all day long, especially off the major interstates. I don't have any lack of confidence when I'm on the road. I did at first when I first bought this thing because I didn't understand, you know, how quick it was or the acceleration or the top speed, so I was a little hesitant to really ride on any roadways that were really fast, like 45 and up. But honestly, after I've done it a few times, it's really no big deal. Another thing I wanted to make you aware of is the seat height. I have a short inseam, so when I stop, I'll show you, when I stop, I can't stop and put 2 feet down flat-footed, in other words. So if I stop, and if I come to a red light or stop sign, I'm pretty much tiptoed here. Now, sometimes to take a break, if I'm on a long red light, I'll just plant 1 foot, keep it flat, and kind of lean the bike like it is. But if I'm just stopping quickly, I'm on my toes. I don't know if you can tell, but, and I have like a 29-30 inseam. Seat height could be an issue. Now, if you buy a different seat, or if you buy a custom seat, aftermarket seat, you can probably lower that seat height by a few inches, I've heard. I don't know the specifics on that, but I think it's possible. But I don't mind the seat height. I have balance. I'm not gonna like fall over anything. I mean, yeah, I'm kind of up on my toes a little bit, but not like all the way. I'm on kind of like the balls of my feet, I would say, and it's fine. So keep seat height in mind. I would say another pro to having a bike like this, and this goes with many scooters and smaller motorbikes, but maintenance on these are virtually non-existent. You have to change the oil. I change it every season, whether I ride a lot or I don't, and I have to do that this season. I'll probably do it here coming up. I would say I'm probably do the oil change. I got 1,200 miles on it right now, 1,202 exactly. So I'll go ahead and do the oil change, because literally it's a bottle of oil. And again, use the Honda brand. I mean, like that, talking about oil and debating oil is as bad as gasoline. But I stick with the Honda brand oil because they make it for a reason and they recommend it in their motorbikes. So I just buy the Honda motor and I don't have to worry about it. Other people prefer other brands and whatever. Again, just go buy your owner's manual and you can't go wrong. So oil, what else? There's some other things you can do to this. I haven't done the other maintenance on it, but when I do, I'm gonna create videos on that. So again, these are low maintenance type motorbikes, anything 150cc or less. Not a lot to them. You got your oil, you got your brake adjustments if you want to adjust your brake. Like I adjusted my rear brake within like seconds from the little bolt on the back. That was easy as pie. So when I do any maintenance on this, I'm going to have to get the manual out and have to research a little what other maintenance I can do to this and when the frequency calls for. But all I've done so far was oil changes, and that's all I'm really concerned about with 1,200 miles on the bike. Easy maintenance. You want a bike like this, you want to just get on and go and cruise around the back roads and just have some fun on it. Yeah, there you go. You don't have to worry about maintaining. It's a lot of maintenance on this thing, you know. Well, there you go. It says it right there. 5/15. So it's May 15th. I completely forgot about this thing having a date on it. I don't ride at night too much. I only have a couple videos of me recording night rides, so I want to do it again now that it's starting to warm up outside. But this has very nice stock lighting on it. The LEDs in the front, turn signals are great, back no problem. I mean, there's standards in the industry. That stuff's going to be fine. But you can also add more lights to this. I've seen them where they put some running lights on the front, and those look pretty cool. I might do that one day, but again, it depends on what you do. Honestly, if you're going to ride a lot at night, yeah, you might want to have a little bit more upgrades to your light. But I don't ever ride at night. I enjoy the visual rides where I'm checking out things and I can and see, but unless you're riding through the city at night with all the lights, it gets darn right boring. I took a night ride with the one I have posted online on my channel. it's like, okay, well, I can't see anything but the tail light of the other bike in front of me, and we're riding out in the middle of cornfields and stuff, and it's like kind of spooky because you never know if something's gonna dart in front of you. You can't see anything. It just just wasn't really a fan of that night riding, you know. Oh, by the way, I wanted to mention, I think it's next week, not this weekend coming up, but the following weekend, the 28th and 29th. Well, there's a class on that Wednesday. I am taking my motorcycle riders course that I signed up for. And the reason I did that, because I could never get into the BMV that I made a big rant about last year. To get my endorsement, I couldn't ever book a test. I would call the BMV test facilities and they would tell me, you go on their website, well, we don't have any available due to COVID. We're so backlogged and they're completely full for who knows how long. I had to wind up, if I want my endorsement, I had to just sign up for a rider's course, and I actually am looking forward to it because I think I'll learn a lot just by going through the manual. I studied the whole book already, and it looks, most of it's common sense. I think it should be mandatory that anybody that buys a motorcycle over 50cc, anything that's actually street legal, you need to, I think they should mandate it, every state, in my opinion, that you are required to take a rider's course. It's so important to do that because people have never ridden motorbikes before. They get their temps and they're out there with no experience, and they're riding these big, gigantic, bulky, heavy motorcycles, and they're going way too fast, and they don't know how to handle it, they don't know how to turn, and that just takes years of practice. I'm still learning, and I'm still getting used to turning and like pushing, you know. It's just kind of like bizarre. When you turn, you actually push in the direction you want to go, and it's like, how do you, at first I could not grasp logically that concept. I'm like, why would I push in the opposite direction or in the same direction I want to go? Wouldn't I be turning? So what it does is when you push, it causes the bike to lean, see? So if I push left, I'm leaning left. So it really does work, and I never knew that. It was months and months before, even after I was riding, that it finally dawned on me, because what I used to do was kind of like, I would try to turn like a steering wheel, right? And then my bike would wind up, and that's how a lot of motorcyclists run off roads and lose control, is because they're trying to turn the motorcycle like a car. And what that does is it knocks you off the other direction. So what you have to do is you have to push in the same direction, and that's kind of like that counterbalance steering effect, and it really is kind of cool how that works. But so inexperienced riders, including myself, back in a while back, I should say, when I first did that group ride with the other motorcycles, I was not even aware of, I don't believe at the time, how to really properly handle curves. I mean, I did okay because I have good balance and I can figure things out, and I didn't have a problem with it. But some of those, when you're going in the turns, now that I know that you kind of just gradually push in the direction you want to turn, it just makes turning like in a curve effortless, man. It's just night and day trying to, instead of monkey it and turning the bars and leaning in that direction, you just push on the handlebar like in the direction you want to go, and the bike starts going that way. It's amazing. Simple stuff, right? But anyway, my point was, I think everybody should go through a rider's course, and if I was an advocate for that, I would definitely vote that happens, because it's going to save a lot of lives out there if you go through a motorcycle rider course before you get your, I think you should do it before you even get your temps. I really do. I think that is, you know, okay, you buy a motorcycle, guess what? Until you can sit your butt on that thing, you got to go through a rider's course. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. No pun intended. That's what I believe should happen. But no, state lets you get a temp and you're out there on the road with no experience, heavy bikes, crazy people driving, and you wonder why there's so many wrecks. There you go. So what I'll do is I'll create a video on the information, what happens on the rider's course. I don't think I'll have any problem passing it or anything. I think it'll be a lot of fun. and I'm really looking forward to getting out there and riding actually a real motorbike, not a real motorbike, but a manual shift motorbike, because you can't test with an automatic, I don't believe, and I don't want to. I'm not going to ride this to the rider's course and use this even if I was allowed, because I want to ride, I want to shift, I want to learn. I mean, I know how to do all that stuff. I've had manual bikes before, but I really am looking forward to riding a manual bike again with the rider's course. So I'll do a video, let you guys know how it went, and I'll pass on anything that I learned. I'm sure I'll learn some stuff that is not in the manual that the instructor will tell us, or the people in the class will share information back and forth. And that's one of the reasons I'm glad I signed up for it. So it all worked out. I was kind of griping and complaining about the BMV not having the exam tests available, but it turns out that that's probably the best thing that happened to me, is having to sign up for the course. So we'll let you know how that goes. I'm looking forward to it. That's about 2 weeks from now, depending on when this video comes out. Also, getting back to the pros and cons, and we'll get this video closed out. Probably made it long enough. I could ride forever and just gab, but I would say the top 5 for me on this bike as far as con or pros would be the visual appeal, the Honda brand, the reputation, low maintenance, the reliability. That's by far why I bought this bike. The cons are the speed, but not for me, because I don't care about the speed. I didn't buy the bike to go fast. If I wanted to go fast and drive 90 miles an hour on the highway, I would have bought something else, something heavier, and I don't know why I would want to do that anyway. Hey, my days of speed and thrills and adrenaline, yeah, I'm past that stage in life. So I just wanted something to cruise around and get good gas mileage. Gas mileage is a pro. You know, I've read reports, and I'll include the link under the video. I think it's like fuel.com. So one of the pros is the fuel economy on this is amazing. Probably get about 85 miles a gallon on average. Some people are getting more depending on their driving style. So I think what I read on the website with this bike, the actual bike, ADV 150, was about 85 miles per gallon average. So man, I tell you what, that you can't beat that. And if you use this as a commuter, you're way ahead of the game. You know, we all know how expensive gas is, and it's probably just going to go up. So if you can use this as your daily commuter, you're really way ahead of the game. And the cons, I would say my top 3 cons would be the wind and frontal wind, and that's one reason I did the upgrade on the thing. Depending on your application, the con would be the lack of acceleration and speed to get out of jams if you're going to use this on the highway. And that's a major con, because that could be either life or death if you're not careful. So that's a big one. Just know that this thing and what its capabilities are before you buy it. I would say a petty one would be the seat comfort. Like right now, I've probably been riding maybe over a half hour, and I'm getting about ready to get off this thing. Get a little squirmy in the seat. You know, just not the best thing in the world. It's not like driving in a nice plush car, you know, like my vehicle. So I think one of my cons would be the seat comfort. Not that it's bad. I don't want to give you that impression that, oh my God, this is a horrible rock seat. No, not at all. It's just, you know, and maybe because I'm heavy, I'm 215, so maybe a lighter guy that weighs $150 ain't gonna have a problem with this riding it all day long. So again, everybody's different. The smart key thing, I guess, would be probably my other con, although it is handy and I understand the idea behind it. I would prefer just to have a regular key and not have to worry about the smart key type deal and the fob. You know, that's just me. I'm old school, and I just think it makes more sense to have something that's, you know, is proven reliable and mechanical, and just have the key. So Honda, if you're listening, not that you are, give us the key back, please. Thank you.